You have been told all your life that if you want something, you must try harder, push stronger, work relentlessly, control every detail until reality submits to your will. Yet if this formula were truly complete, why is it that the very moments when you stop struggling, when you release, are often the ones when life brings the breakthrough you had been pursuing? Here lies the paradox of effort. The tighter you clench, the less you retain. Like sand slipping through clenched fingers, manifestation resists force but responds to harmony. The universe does not reward strain. It reacts to states of being. Recall the times when you desperately wanted something, pursuing it with all your attention, only to see it drift even farther away. Then, almost by accident, in the instant you surrendered, when you stopped the obsessive fixation, when you released control, it arrived on its own. Was that coincidence? Or is an invisible law at work, one that contradicts everything you were taught about effort and reward? The paradox is uncomfortable because it clashes with cultural conditioning. We worship effort. We glorify hustle. We bow to the idea that greater striving is always the answer. But quantum manifestation follows a different logic, one that seems almost reversed until you experience it yourself. Here is the open question you cannot ignore. Effort is not the engine of manifestation. It is often the very barrier. The more desperately you try, the more strongly you signal to the field that you do not have it, that you are in deficit, that you are separate from what you desire. This signal of lack multiplies itself. Instead of attraction, you repel. Instead of magnetization, you push away. And yet people double down, convinced the problem is insufficient striving. They chase, they strain, they demand, never realizing that their very trying is the vibration of not yet. But wait until you see what happens when you reverse the approach. When you stop trying and start simply being, there is a metaphor that captures it perfectly. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. If you wave your arms chaotically, shout, beg, or cry at the reflection, does it move faster? Does it change sooner? No. It reflects not your demands, but your state. If you smile, the mirror smiles instantly. If you stand calm and grounded, the reflection responds in harmony. The mirror is indifferent to your effort. It cares about your being. Quantum manifestation works the same way. Reality does not respond to the intensity of your effort. It reflects the frequency of your state. But here is where most people stumble. They confuse surrender with giving up. They assume that not trying means indifference, laziness, or passive waiting for life to happen by itself. This is a misunderstanding born of linear thinking. Surrender in the quantum sense is not weakness. It is coherence. It is entering the frequency of the desired so fully that no effort is needed to draw it closer. You do not beg for the result. You embody the result. You do not demand the future. You inhabit it now. The paradox of effort resolves when you understand that manifestation is not about force. It is about resonance. Here is a pattern interrupt for your mind. Recall a moment when you were desperately searching for something. Your keys, your phone, a name stuck on the tip of your tongue. The harder you tried, the more elusive it became. Then in the instant you gave up, it appeared. Why? Because effort narrowed your awareness while surrender expanded it. Your nervous system shifted from stress to relaxation, and suddenly the answer emerged. This same mechanism operates in quantum manifestation. The harder you strain, the narrower your frequency becomes. In the moment you stop trying, the field can finally reveal what was already waiting for you. Science supports this paradox in surprising ways. Neuroscience shows that high effort under stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. In this state, the brain becomes tunnel-visioned, focused on problems, unable to perceive creative solutions. In contrast, states of relaxation and openness activate the parasympathetic system, expanding awareness, enhancing intuition, and increasing coherence between brain and heart. From a quantum perspective, coherence is the frequency the field responds to, which means that stopping desperate effort is not passivity. It is entering the only state where manifestation becomes possible. And yet here is the incomplete puzzle. If effort blocks manifestation, does that mean you should never act? Should you simply sit back and wait for life to deliver? No. Action still matters. But the difference lies in where the action originates. Forced effort born of desperation signals lack. Inspired action born of alignment signals coherence. One chases, the other attracts. The puzzle is incomplete because most people know only the first half. They act from lack and wonder why nothing changes. The missing piece is the state that precedes action. When you first embody the outcome, the subsequent action is not trying, it is expression. And that is the language the field understands. Thus the paradox sharpens. The less you try, the more aligned you become. The more you relax into being, the more reality rearranges itself around you. It feels counterintuitive, even rebellious, because it dismantles everything society taught you about effort. But quantum manifestation is not about forcing outcomes. It is about surrendering the illusion of control so completely that you step into the state where outcomes are inevitable. That is the paradox of effort. Greater striving often delays what surrender delivers instantly. And here is the open question for you. If stopping the struggle is the key, what happens when you go beyond stopping effort and begin to live as if the manifestation is already complete? What shifts when you replace trying with being? That answer begins to unfold in the next part, where science and spirituality converge to reveal the hidden mechanisms of resistance and why letting go is not weakness, but the most powerful alignment of all. When you force reality, you do not merely waste energy, you create resistance. Resistance is not just a metaphorical idea. It is a measurable state in both the body and the field. Neuroscience and quantum theory together paint a picture that is both unsettling and liberating. The very effort you rely on to bring your desires closer often becomes the frequency that keeps them at a distance. Understanding this is the first key to unlocking why quantum manifestation happens only when you stop trying. Start with the body. The nervous system has two primary modes: sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic is designed for emergencies: fight, flight, or freeze. When you are locked in trying, pushing, grasping, and straining, the body interprets that state as threat. Cortisol rises, adrenaline surges, and focus narrows onto problems. From an evolutionary perspective, this is useful for survival. But manifestation is not about surviving a predator. It is about aligning with possibility. When the body is in stress mode, you collapse the range of what you can perceive. The quantum field that holds infinite potential outcomes is filtered down to the narrow tunnel of fear and lack. You cannot access new timelines from that frequency. Now look at the brain. Under stress, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of imagination and higher reasoning, goes offline. Blood flow is redirected to the amygdala, the fear center. This is why greater striving often makes you feel stuck. You lose access to creativity, intuition, and problem solving. The more you push, the more rigid your perception becomes, and the less likely you are to notice synchronicities or opportunities that could guide you. From the perspective of manifestation, this is catastrophic. The signs are there, the field is responding, but you are blind to it because your brain is trapped in survival circuitry. Quantum physics mirrors this truth. At the smallest scales, particles exist in states of possibility. Waves, not certainties. Observation collapses the wave function into one outcome. But what kind of observation? Here things become fascinating. Experiments show that the emotional and mental state of the observer changes how probability collapses into form. Coherence produces clear results. Chaos produces noise. When you observe reality through the lens of stress, desperation, and lack, you collapse the field into outcomes that match that frequency. The science of resistance is the science of misaligned observation, trying so hard that you reinforce the absence of what you seek. Psychology has its own term for this: ironic process theory. The more you try to suppress or force a thought, the stronger it becomes. Tell yourself not to think about failure. and failure dominates your mind. Tell yourself you must succeed now, and the urgency blocks the very state needed for success. Resistance multiplies the very thing you are trying to escape. It is not just a personal quirk. It is a universal law. What you resist persists. What you push against you invite closer. The energy of resistance is sticky, and it attaches to the outcomes you fear. This is why affirmations sometimes fail. If you repeat, "I am abundant," while vibrating in lack, the field does not hear the words. It hears the frequency. The affirmation becomes a mask over resistance, not a transformation of it. The brain detects the mismatch. The heart feels the incoherence, and the field mirrors the real signal: desperation. Greater striving to override it only deepens the resistance. This explains why many people exhaust themselves with spiritual practices and rituals, only to feel farther from the outcome than when they began. They are trying, but trying from the wrong state. Here is the pattern interrupt. Resistance is not neutral, it is creative. Every time you try with desperation, you create outcomes in alignment with desperation. This is why the science of resistance matters so much. It reveals that manifestation is not delayed because the universe is testing you, but because you are testing yourself. You are projecting a frequency of effort that encodes lack, and the field responds faithfully to that broadcast. The universe is not ignoring you. It is answering you perfectly, but at the level of resistance you are transmitting. So what is the alternative? If effort creates resistance, does that mean abandon all action? No. The distinction lies in state. Neuroscience shows that when the parasympathetic system is activated, when the body feels safe, calm, and open, the brain shifts into alpha and theta states. These are the frequencies of imagination, creativity, and flow. In this state, intuition sharpens. You notice synchronicities more easily. You take action not from panic, but from clarity. This is not passivity. It is resonance. You are no longer trying to force the field. You are letting the field move through you. Quantum science supports this shift as well. Coherent observation, when brain and heart rhythms synchronize, produces measurable order in physical systems. Studies suggest that groups of people meditating together can reduce crime rates or influence random number generators. The common thread is coherence. When you stop resisting, stop forcing, and enter states of relaxed alignment, you become coherent. The field reflects that coherence by collapsing into outcomes that match it. In other words, when you stop trying, you stop broadcasting lack and start broadcasting alignment. That is when manifestation happens. And yet here is the curiosity question. If coherence is the key, why do so few people live this way? Because effort is addictive. It feels safe to the mind. It gives the illusion of control. Letting go feels like weakness to a culture trained to worship struggle. This is the real resistance. Not to circumstances, but to surrender itself. The science of resistance is not just about cortisol or collapsing wave functions. It is about the deep programming of the human psyche, conditioned to believe that trying is the only way to matter. Breaking that program is the true initiation. So the science is clear. Resistance blocks manifestation by narrowing perception, collapsing possibility, and amplifying lack. But the deeper truth is not just about stopping resistance. It is about entering a new state entirely. A state where surrender becomes frequency, not passivity. A state where letting go is the most powerful alignment you can embody. And that is where we go next, into the mystery of surrender. Not as weakness, but as the ultimate vibration of creation. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood concepts in manifestation. To most people, it sounds like defeat, like giving up the fight, like choosing inaction in the face of desire. But in the quantum field, surrender is not collapse. It is coherence. It is not about stopping life. It is about harmonizing with it. When you surrender, you stop broadcasting the chaotic frequency of desperation and begin radiating the calm frequency of already having. And that frequency is what the field mirrors back. The paradox is striking. The more you release, the more reality delivers. This does not mean sitting in silence, waiting for miracles to fall into your lap. It means embodying the inner state of fulfillment so fully that the outer world has no choice but to adjust, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Described as moving into heart-brain coherence, a measurable physiological state where intention and elevated emotion align. From both perspectives, surrender is not passive. It is active alignment with the version of yourself that already has what you desire. Science provides a fascinating window into this. The heart generates an electromagnetic field measurable several feet away from the body. When heart and brain are coherent, when thought and emotion align, the body broadcasts a signal of stability and order. That coherence affects not only your physiology, but also the quantum field around you. It is as if the universe recognizes your signal and rearranges probability to match. Incoherence, by contrast, is static. It broadcasts noise. The field responds, but with scattered, chaotic outcomes. Surrender as frequency is the art of entering coherence so deeply that the field has no option but to reflect your alignment. Here is the curiosity gap. Why does letting go create alignment instead of loss? Because trying is always a signal of separation. When you try, you declare vibrationally, "It is not yet mine." The field takes that declaration literally and mirrors back the absence. When you surrender, you declare, "It already is." You are no longer reaching toward the desire, you are embodying it. This is why manifestations so often arrive when people finally release the obsession. When they relax into trust, they stop radiating lack and start radiating completion. The field cannot resist that signal because it is coherent. Think of water. If you stir it violently, the reflection on its surface distorts. Try to see yourself in that chaos and the image fractures. But if you let the water settle, stillness emerges. Suddenly, the reflection is clear, accurate, whole. Your vibration works the same way. Effort is turbulence. Surrender is stillness. And only in stillness does the reflection of your desired reality appear without distortion. This is not metaphorical. It is the literal dynamic of frequency and reflection. The universe is the mirror, and surrender is what allows you to see clearly. But here is where most people stumble. They think surrender means not caring. They say, "If I stop trying, I will lose all motivation. Nothing will happen." This is the incomplete puzzle. Because surrender is not apathy, it is profound presence. It is holding the vision of what you desire without clutching it, without strangling it with desperation. It is like holding a bird in your hand. Grip too tightly and you crush it. Hold too loosely and it may fly away. True surrender is neither. It is gentle, steady presence, the perfect balance of intention and release. That state carries power precisely because it is free of friction. Psychology confirms this with the concept of flow. Flow is a state where effort dissolves, where action feels effortless, where time itself bends. Athletes, artists, scientists, all describe it. Flow is not laziness. It is peak performance without strain. And what is flow if not surrender? You are not forcing. You are allowing. You are not trying. You are being. Neuroscience shows that in flow, the brain shifts into alpha and theta waves, patterns associated with intuition, creativity, and effortless action. Surrender as frequency is essentially living in flow, not occasionally, but as your default vibration. Spiritual traditions echo this across centuries. Taoism calls it Wu Wei, effortless action, not inactivity, but harmony with the way of the universe. Buddhism speaks of non-attachment, the freedom that comes from releasing clinging. Christian mysticism speaks of letting go and letting God. Though the language differs, the essence is the same. Surrender is not defeat. It is alignment. It is the state in which your actions stop colliding with the field and begin harmonizing with it. Here is a pattern interrupt for your conditioning. What if the real effort was never about doing more, but about training yourself to stop fighting? What if the discipline required for manifestation is not pushing but releasing? This flips the story. It means the most powerful practice is not endless striving, but learning how to live in coherence. to hold the end in mind while letting the details unfold without interference. This is not weakness, it is mastery. And here is the question that keeps you leaning forward. If surrender is the state, what happens when reality itself begins to rearrange around that frequency? How does life respond when you fully stop trying and start radiating coherence? That is the secret waiting in the next stage, where we see how the field does not just mirror your state, but begins actively reshaping timelines to match it. There is a moment every manifestor eventually encounters. A threshold where trying collapses into being and suddenly reality begins to move in ways that feel impossible to explain. The job you chased endlessly appears when you stop obsessing. The relationship that felt unattainable arrives the moment you stop clinging. The money you struggled to force into your life flows in when you release the desperation. People call it coincidence, luck, divine timing. But at the core is a single principle. When you stop trying, reality rearranges. The shift is so profound that once you experience it, you can never return to the illusion that effort alone creates outcomes. Imagine a pendulum. If you push it frantically, it swings erratically, chaotic, unstable. But if you give it one clear release and let gravity and rhythm take over, it finds its natural arc, smooth and effortless. Your life works the same way. Constant pushing introduces turbulence. Surrender introduces rhythm, and in that rhythm, events begin to align with an elegance no amount of strain could engineer. You are no longer fighting reality. You are synchronizing with it. The signs multiply. Opportunities emerge. Timelines adjust. Not because you forced them, but because you finally allowed them. Quantum science offers an insight into this. When two systems become coherent, they no longer resist each other. They entrain. Their rhythms lock in. Their energy stabilizes. Their patterns align. In physics, this is resonance. In manifestation, this is surrender. When you stop trying, you create the frequency that allows your personal field to entrain with the larger field of possibility. Timelines that once seemed distant or improbable slide into coherence not by force but by resonance. This is why manifestations often arrive when you least expect them. Because expectation wrapped in obsession is resistance. But openness wrapped in surrender is alignment. And yet the question remains, how do you know the difference between doing nothing and letting go? This is where people get confused. Doing nothing is apathy, withdrawal, fear disguised as passivity. Letting go is alive, vibrant, infused with trust. When you let go, you do not collapse into emptiness. You expand into resonance. Your body feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, your awareness sharper. You are not ignoring reality. You are co-creating it. And the universe responds by sending confirmations, signs, synchronicities, encounters that remind you you are on the right path. The very structure of reality seems to lean in your direction. Think of the stories you have heard from others, maybe even from your own life. The moment they stopped sending out endless resumes and started working on themselves, the perfect opportunity appeared. The moment they stopped obsessing over finding love and began living with joy, a relationship manifested. The moment they stopped grasping at every dollar, money flowed in through unexpected channels. These are not isolated miracles. They are patterns. They are proof that trying is often the very barrier to receiving. Life arranges itself around coherence, not control. Psychology gives us language for this too. The paradox of control. Studies show that when people try to control outcomes too tightly, anxiety rises, creativity shrinks, and results worsen. But when they loosen their grip, allowing flexibility and openness, performance improves. Athletes call it playing loose. Musicians call it flow. In every field, the principle holds: forcing blocks, relaxing unlocks. Quantum manifestation simply extends this to the level of reality itself. The more you grip, the more you signal lack. The more you release, the more you signal alignment. And reality, faithful mirror that it is, responds accordingly. But here's the curiosity gap. If life rearranges when you stop trying, how far does this go? Does it apply only to small desires, or to the biggest transformations of your life? Can you truly align with timelines so radically different from your current one that everything changes? The answer is yes, but only when surrender becomes your baseline frequency, not a temporary trick. When you embody ease as your natural state, reality cannot help but reshape itself to match. And this is where I want to pause and invite you into practice, not theory. Words are only mirrors, but action encodes vibration. I want you to anchor this principle right now in real time by leaving a declaration in the comments below. Not for me, but for you, for the field, for your subconscious, for the version of you stepping into alignment. Write this phrase: I allow it to be easy. Do not underestimate the power of this. It is not a cliche. It is a frequency. By declaring it, you are shifting from trying to allowing, from resistance to resonance. You are telling the field, my timeline is aligned with ease. Feel what happens in your body when you write those words. It is light, liberating, almost rebellious in a world addicted to struggle. You are interrupting the old program and anchoring a new one. And the field responds. The next time you notice a synchronicity, an unexpected opportunity, a moment of flow, remember this declaration. It is not magic in the superficial sense, it is resonance in action. So when you stop trying, reality rearranges, not because the universe suddenly notices you, but because you finally notice yourself. You shift from grasping to receiving, from force to flow, from static to coherence. And that shift changes everything. The question now is, what happens when you realize that even the puzzle of manifestation itself is incomplete by design? That the field never shows you the entire picture at once, only fragments to guide you forward. That is the mystery waiting ahead, and it is the final piece of the paradox that makes surrender not just powerful but necessary. If manifestation were a clean formula, a straight line from desire to outcome, you would already have everything you ever wanted. But the truth is that the process is not linear. It is fragmentary. The universe delivers in pieces, never in totality. And this design is not a flaw. It is the very architecture of transformation. The incomplete puzzle is what keeps you alive in the process. What keeps you searching, aligning, evolving. Effortless creation emerges not from mastering every detail, but from learning to live inside the gaps. Think of how the night sky looks when you first gaze up. Scattered stars, seemingly random, disconnected. But as you keep looking, constellations appear. The pieces linked together into patterns, maps, stories. They were always there. But meaning emerges only when you relax your gaze, when you stop trying to control what you see. Synchronicities and manifestations follow the same rhythm. The fragments arrive as signs scattered across your timeline. The more you force them to form a complete picture instantly, the more frustrated you become. But the more you allow, the more naturally they link together, forming the constellation of your becoming. This incomplete nature frustrates the logical mind. The mind wants guarantees, formulas, certainty. It asks, if I surrender, how will I know it is working? If I let go, when will it arrive? If I stop trying, how can I trust? These questions are understandable, but they reveal the old programming, the desire for a complete map before taking the first step. But manifestation does not work that way. The field offers just enough to keep you moving forward. Never the whole story, always the fragment. And it does this because the process itself is the transformation. You are not supposed to see the entire picture in advance, because who you are becoming is forged in the act of walking with incomplete information. Science echoes this mystery. In chaos, theory patterns that appear random at first reveal hidden order when viewed from a higher perspective. The fractal never reveals itself in one glance. It emerges iteration by iteration, piece by piece. Quantum theory, too, points to incompleteness. The uncertainty principle shows us that reality itself withholds full precision. You cannot know both the position and momentum of a particle with absolute certainty. Reality is literally designed to remain partially hidden, to leave gaps, and in those gaps creation breathes. The puzzle is incomplete by universal law. Spiritually, this is not new. Ancient teachings spoke of walking by faith, not by sight, not because sight is unimportant, but because sight only reveals fragments. Faith fills the gap. Faith is the willingness to move with partial information, trusting that the pieces you hold are enough for today. The next piece will reveal itself when you reach it. This rhythm prevents stagnation, keeps you engaged, and protects the integrity of your free will. If the entire puzzle were shown in advance, your journey would become mechanical. You would no longer be a creator. You would be a follower of a script. The gaps are what make you a co-author. But here is the pattern interrupt you must confront. Greater striving is usually the mind's way of resisting the incomplete puzzle. You want the whole picture now, so you grasp, control, obsess. That effort collapses the mystery into frustration. Yet the truth is, the incompleteness is the most fertile part of the process. The fact that you do not know when or how is not the barrier, it is the mechanism. It is the very thing that keeps your vibration alive, curious, open, searching. The incomplete puzzle keeps you in movement, and movement keeps you in resonance. Consider a simple story. A man longs for a change in his career. He sets his intention, but instead of a clear answer, he receives fragments. A chance encounter with someone in a different industry, a recommendation, an idea in a dream. None of them make sense individually. But when he stops forcing, when he allows the fragments to gather, a pattern emerges. The encounter connects to the recommendation inspires the idea opens a door. The puzzle never arrived complete, but piece by piece it revealed the path. And because he lived the gaps, the transformation shaped him along the way. This is effortless creation, not forcing the puzzle into completion, but allowing it to assemble itself around you. Not demanding every piece now, but embodying the state that magnetizes the next fragment. The field delivers in proportion to your coherence, not your effort. Each fragment is both enough and incomplete, both satisfying and unfinished. And this tension is not meant to torture you. It is meant to evolve you, to keep you aligned not just with the outcome but with the process itself. Here is the curiosity question. What if the incompleteness never ends? What if manifestation is not about finishing the puzzle at all, but about realizing that life itself is the puzzle eternally unfolding? The relief and the terror of this idea collide. Relief because you can stop demanding finality. Terror because you realize there is no finish line. But when you embrace this, effortlessness becomes natural. You are no longer waiting for completion to grant you peace. You find peace in the fragment. And from that peace, the next fragment always arrives. So effortless creation is not the absence of effort. It is the absence of resistance to incompleteness. It is the willingness to hold the puzzle in its partial form and still say, "This is enough." It is the choice to live aligned not with certainty, but with trust. And that trust is what pulls new timelines into coherence. The incomplete puzzle is not a failure of manifestation. It is the signature of the quantum process itself. And now, the final piece awaits. What does it mean to live this way permanently, to become not just someone who notices fragments, but someone who embodies the frequency of effortless manifestation itself? That is the closing revelation, where the decoder of reality is born, and where surrender transforms from a practice into a way of being. At some point, the practice of manifestation is no longer about techniques, rituals, or even signs. It becomes about identity. Who are you being? What frequency are you broadcasting? The final paradox is this. Manifestation stops being something you do and starts being something you are. To live in effortless creation is to stop reaching for the field and to realize you are the field. When you try to manifest from the outside, you reinforce separation. I am here. My desire is over there, and I must bridge the gap. But when you embody effortless manifestation, the gap dissolves. You do not chase outcomes. You inhabit them. You do not wait for confirmation. You broadcast coherence. The reality you seek flows not because you pulled it in, but because you radiated it out. You became the timeline. You became the frequency. The field rearranges not around your effort, but around your being. Science hints at this through the concept of coherence and resonance. When two systems vibrate at the same frequency, they merge into one rhythm. Your consciousness is no different. When you hold the vibration of what you desire not by forcing but by being, the field resonates with you, collapsing into alignment. You are no longer trying to enter a new reality. You are embodying it so completely that reality has no choice but to follow. This is the highest level of manifestation. Not effort, not waiting, but becoming. Spiritually, this has been echoed in every wisdom tradition. The mystic said, "Be still and know." The Taoists spoke of Wu Wei, effortless action flowing from alignment with the Tao, insisted on living in the end not as imagination but as identity, described as tuning into the electromagnetic signature of your future self until it becomes indistinguishable from your present. The language differs, but the essence is the same. When you stop trying, when you stop reaching, when you embody the frequency, you collapse into coherence with the reality you seek. But here's the curiosity question that draws you further in. What does life look like when you live this way consistently? When you no longer toggle between effort and surrender, but instead rest fully in being? The answer is not about perfection. It is about rhythm. You still act, but your actions flow. You still choose, but your choices emerge from alignment, not desperation. Life becomes less about achieving and more about receiving. The incomplete puzzle no longer frustrates you because you understand that the puzzle was never meant to be finished. It was meant to be lived. To live as the field is to stop searching for signs and to become the sign. Others notice your coherence, your calm, your flow, and they feel it resonate in their own lives. You become a walking synchronicity, a living symbol of alignment. This is the ripple effect of effortless manifestation. Your being transforms the field not only for you, but for those around you. You are not just decoding reality, you are shaping it. You are not just following timelines, you are anchoring them. Here lies the ultimate invitation: to let go of the illusion that effort equals worth, to step out of the story that struggle is the price of creation, to embody the truth that reality rearranges when you stop trying, because you were never meant to chase. You were meant to align, and alignment is not something you do for a moment. It is something you become. Now, if you want to take this understanding deeper, beyond inspiration into structured practice, I created something to guide you. The path closes here, but also begins here, with you not trying, with you not chasing, with you becoming. And when you become, reality cannot help but follow you. It cannot help but reflect your vibration because you are no longer asking for change. You already are it. You are not waiting for the future. You are living from it. And in this living, the entire process of manifestation simplifies to one continuous act of being. This is not the end of the path. It is the beginning of living without effort as the norm. You no longer turn the state on and off. It becomes your constant background. Your breath synchronizes with the field. Your thoughts stop being requests and become affirmations. Your actions stop being attempts and become natural extensions of inner balance. Every day brings new confirmations not because you seek them, but because you radiate them. Synchronicities stop being rare events. They become everyday occurrences. Opportunities stop being things to catch. They arise around you as a natural ecosystem of your state. You stop asking when. You start noticing how already. You stop checking for signs. You become the sign. And in this there is no drama, no tension, no waiting for culmination. There is only smooth, continuous unfolding of a reality that was always ready to match you the moment you stopped resisting. This does not mean life becomes static. On the contrary, it becomes infinitely dynamic, but without friction. Changes happen not through crises but through natural transitions. Growth happens not through pain but through expansion. Transformations happen not as breakthroughs after struggle, but as quiet revelations from within. You begin to live in a rhythm where effort is no longer required because resistance is gone. You do not manage the process, you let it flow through you. And in this flow is born not just the desired but something greater. A life that feels right at the soul level. This is not a goal, it is a state. This is not a destination, it is a way of traveling. And the longer you remain in it, the deeper it roots. The less you remember what it was like to try, the more natural it becomes to be. The more obvious it becomes that you were never separate from what you wanted. You simply learn to live in the frequency where it is already yours. And here the paradox completes not with an answer, but with living. The paradox of effort dissolves not in understanding but in experience. You do not prove the truth, you breathe it. You do not explain the field, you swim in it. You do not achieve manifestation, you become it. And in this becoming is the entire secret. Not in stopping wanting, but in stopping needing. Not in stopping acting, but in acting from fullness. Not in stopping dreaming, but in living inside the dream without demanding its proof. This is quantum living, not a technique, not a method, not a practice, an identity, a frequency, being. And when you fully enter it, reality does not simply follow you. It reveals itself as you. You do not manifest the desired. You allow it to manifest through you. And in this there is no effort. There is only truth. The truth that you were always whole. The truth that the universe was always answering. The truth that the only thing ever required was to stop blocking the flow. And now that the blocks are gone, the flow is free. And you are at its center. Not as a striver, not as a seeker, but as one who is already home. And from here begins not a new chapter, a new reality. Not with greater effort, but with greater allowing. Not with greater control, but with greater trust. Not with greater searching, but with greater presence. And in this presence, everything you need is already here. Not tomorrow, not after, but now. Because now is the only place where manifestation happens. Not in the future you try to pull, but in the present you finally allow to be. And when you live this way, every moment becomes an act of creation. Every breath an affirmation, every movement an expression. You do not wait for the miracle, you live it. You do not wait for change, you embody it. You do not wait for love, success, abundance, you radiate them. And the world, faithful mirror, cannot help but reflect it back. Not as a reward, but as correspondence. This is the end of the paradox, and the beginning of freedom. Freedom not from desire, but freedom in desire. Freedom not from action, but freedom in action. Freedom not from life, but freedom within life. And in this freedom you finally understand. The only effort ever required was the effort to let go. To let go of the illusion of lack. To let go of the story of struggle. To let go of the belief that you must prove your worth. To let go of the idea that reality must be forced. And in this letting go is born not emptiness, but fullness. Not weakness, but strength. Not an end, but an infinite beginning. And now you know. Not as a concept, but as experience. Not as theory, but as breath. Not as a goal, but as home. You are home. In yourself, in the field, in the flow, in being. And from here, everything is possible. Not because you try, but because you allow. Not because you control, but because you trust. Not because you search, but because you have found. You found not in achievement, but in surrender. Not in effort, but in ease. Not in struggle, but in flow. And this is not the end of the path. It is the path that now moves through you. Easily, naturally, continuously, without effort, without resistance, without end. Because when you become the field becomes you. And in this unity, there are no more paradoxes. There is only truth. The truth that you are always what you sought. You simply learned to live from it, and now you live. Not trying, but being. Not chasing, but allowing. Not proving, but radiating. And reality, finally, rests. Because it no longer needs to resist your resistance. It can simply flow, as you do, as it was always meant to, as it was always possible, as it was always yours.